When you are teaching your child to read, you need access through 3 different types of books in order to help them grow in their literacy skills. Now, most parents don't know about all 3 types of books that their little ones, preschool and kindergarten age, should be exposed to. A lot of times parents will only know about 1 or 2, but there are actually 3 different types of books that I want you to know about so that you can use them when you are teaching your little one to read. In case you're new here, my name is Erin. I'm from littleslovelearning.com. I'm a former classroom teacher, but I didn't actually know how to properly teach reading until 6 years after I left the classroom. That's when I went on a journey all on my own to discover how to actually teach kids to read based on brain science. And that is what I share with you now so that you will have all of the tips and tricks that you need to teach your little one to read correctly based on the science of reading. And this is one of those tips that many parents don't know about. When they are teaching their child to read, they don't know about all 3 types of books that they need to have access to, and that's what we're going to dive into today. The first type of book you want to make sure your child has access to is the type of book they're going to be reading on their own. These books are called decodable books. There are lots of different decodable books on the market that you can purchase, but unfortunately, most libraries don't carry decodable books. I am trying to change that. I know I'm working with my library to try to get them to start carrying decodable books so parents can check them out and have their child read them at home. But for right now, most decodable books are available for purchase through different publishers' websites. Well, what is a decodable book? A decodable book simply means that the words in the book have been chosen very carefully based on the phonics skills the child has learned so far. So they're not going to have any advanced or complex phonics patterns. They're going to start very simple and very basic. We always start with short vowels and consonants. We call those CVC words. And then we're going to build from there when we're teaching kids how to read. So most decodable books are going to start very, very simply. So I have 3 examples for you that I love. The first one is from Jackson Wren series. This is by Lena Miller, Decode by Heart. And this is a great series because this starts with CVC words, the consonants and the short vowels. So your child will be able to read these words because they know their consonants and short vowels. If there are any words in here that are a little bit trickier for a child to read, maybe for example the word is, because the S is representing the Z sound, that is going to be listed for the parents back here so that you can see all of the heart words, the tricky words that your child would need to read in order to read this book. So this is a great example of a decodable book because the words in here are decodable for your child to be able to read on their own. Another great example that I love is from Charge Mommy. The Charge Mommy books are great. This is the short vowel A set. And so again, this is going to be doing consonants and short vowels only. So the words in here are very controlled. You're not going to have super complex phonics patterns because kids aren't ready for that when they are just learning how to read on their own. So the Charge Mommy books are great. And then I also have the Decodables from Toddlers Can Read. This is the first one in the series, so it's going to start very simply. Just a few words on a page, and all of these are going to be decodable based on the consonants and short vowels. So again, these are the books that your child is going to read on their own. I wish they were in more libraries. Right now, there are not a ton of libraries that carry decodable books. We're trying to work to change that because these are the only books that your little one, especially if they're in preschool and kindergarten, is going to be able to read on their own. Once they learn how to read and they understand their CVC words with the short vowels and the consonants, and then they're going to be introduced to more complex skills like magic E and long vowels with open syllables and vowel teams and diphthongs and R-controlled vowels and all of these different phonics skills. Then they're going to be able to read anything on their own. But in the very beginning, especially for our preschool and kindergarten kiddos, we need to make sure that it's controlled, that the books that we're choosing are controlled, the text inside is controlled so that our little ones can read it totally independently, just based on the phonics skills they know. The second type of book you want to make sure your child has access to, of course, are picture books. I'm sure you have tons of picture books at home, or hopefully you are able to visit your local library and check them out for free. But picture books are so important for us to read to our kids. So again, they're not going to be reading these books on their own in the beginning, especially in preschool and kindergarten. We want them to read the decodable books, but we also want to read to them more complex books like picture books, because there was actually a study done that said picture books have more complex vocabulary words in them than most adults use in their daily conversation, more unique vocabulary words. So that's really great for our little ones to hear, because when they're hearing these words in picture books, they are building up their vocabulary. They're building up their background knowledge. They're building up all of these skills that they need in order to have reading comprehension later on. They might not be able to read these words on their own just yet, but they can absolutely comprehend. They can have practice language comprehension, they can build up their vocabulary and their background knowledge, and that is going to help them later on when they can read the words independently. So I just pulled this one out of our shelf, Olivia and the Fairy Princesses. And just on the first couple of pages, I saw some vocabulary words that you may not be using with your preschool or kindergartner. I certainly don't think I was using those words either, but even on the first page, it says, Olivia was depressed. Depressed is a great word to use with our little ones. It's way more complex than sad, and we can talk about what depressed means, and that's going to help build up their background knowledge. Even on the next page, she tells her parents she thinks she's having an identity crisis. So identity and crisis, those are probably words you're not using in your everyday conversation with your preschool or kindergartner. So I love those words, and I love that you can talk more about what that means, because, Olivia always gets into the funniest situations. But even on this page, she wants to choose a different outfit. So she picks a French sailor shirt, matador pants, black flats, a strand of pearls, sunglasses, a red bag, and her gardening hat. You could talk about what matador pants are and a French sailor shirt is. Those are words that you probably are not using in your everyday conversation. And it goes on every page. On this page, she's talking about princesses from Thailand, or an African princess, or a princess from China. That's bringing in different countries that you can talk about. So just in this one picture book, you're already using bigger vocabulary words. Here's the word alternatives, which is another great word. You can talk about different building background knowledge with the different countries and the different cultures. All of that is so important with helping our little ones develop their reading comprehension. And so that's why picture books are so crucial for us to read to our little ones. We want to be reading to them every single day, if possible. I know sometimes days get busy. By the end of the night, you are wiped. I totally get it. It doesn't have to be right before bed. If you can read to your little one when they're eating breakfast or lunch or after nap time, anytime you can sneak in a little bit of reading time, it is going to be so helpful to build up their background knowledge and their vocabulary. And the third type of book I want you to expose your little one to as they are becoming a stronger reader are actually chapter books. And a lot of people have told me, oh wow, I never thought to read chapter books to my preschooler. I didn't think they were ready for that. But actually, preschoolers can start listening to chapter books. And it is such a great way to help build their vocabulary and their background knowledge. There are so many different types of chapter books. If you want to start really, really basic, you can pick a chapter book that has full color illustrations. So this is the Owl Diary series. This one is really great because it has full color illustrations like you would see in a picture book, but it is a chapter book. Chapter books are great because you can stop at the end of a chapter and come back to it the next day, and then your little one has to remember what happened the day before. They have to start building up that stamina and that listening stamina and remembering from one day to the next what happened. But if they still want to look at the pictures and be engaged in the illustrations, Owl Diaries is a great series. There's also Diary of a Pug and Unicorn Diaries. They're all from the same publisher. I also love the Princess in Black series. This is another series that has full color pictures, even though it's a chapter book. So again, this is going to engage your little one if they want to continue looking at the pictures while you're reading to them. But you don't have to pick a chapter book that has pictures in it. In fact, we want to kind of baby step our way out of the pictures in chapter books and get to chapter books that just have black and white text, maybe a couple of illustrations that are black and white here and there, but they don't have illustrations on every page. So many families like to start with the Magic Tree House series. This is a really great series. It's very simple. The chapters are not too long. If there are pictures, they're black and white, although there are not that many pictures. And most of it is just the text on the page. Your little one does not have to be laying next to you and looking at the book while you're reading, especially if there are no pictures. That might not be very engaging for them. It is totally fine for your little one to be doing something else while you're reading a chapter book. They could be eating, they could be playing with Play-Doh, they could be building with blocks, they could be doing all sorts of things. Anything to keep their hands busy, but they're still listening, it's totally fine. You do not need them to be sitting and paying attention to the book, looking straight at you, because I don't know about you, but when I'm listening to someone, usually on a podcast or in an audiobook, I like to be doing something else, putting the dishes away or folding the laundry. It's okay for your little one to be moving and doing something else as they're listening to these chapter books. It's still helping to build up their stamina and building their vocabulary and background knowledge. So if you can baby step your way up to chapter books with no pictures, that is awesome. And they don't have to be fiction chapter books either. You could actually get nonfiction chapter books if your little one is more interested in nonfiction. Every child is different, but the Who Was and the What Was series is really great. You can learn about different people or different topics your little one is interested in. This is What Was the Age of the Dinosaurs. So this is going to have more pictures, but they're really just illustrations that are black and white, go along with the text. But these chapters are filled with facts and information. So if your little one loves facts and information, you can always do a nonfiction chapter book. It does not have to be fiction. This definitely helps build up their background knowledge and their vocabulary as they are listening. So don't think that your little one is too young for a chapter book. You don't even have to get through the entire chapter. If they can only listen to half a chapter before they are just ready to move on, that's totally fine too. Put a bookmark in it. Come back the next day, see what they can remember. But let's baby step our way up so that we're building up that stamina for them. It's helping with their oral vocabulary, it's helping with their listening comprehension, and that is going to transfer to reading comprehension. And one more thing, audiobooks and podcasts are so wonderful for kids. Audiobooks in the car or when your little one is playing at home or podcasts in the car are so helpful because they are also building vocabulary, building background knowledge, they are engaging and entertaining, they are helping your little one with visualizations because there are no pictures. They have to come up with the images in their brain of what's happening in the podcast or the audiobook. So I highly, highly recommend audiobooks and podcasts. If you would like a list of podcasts for kids, my friend Jamie over at Teach, Talk, Inspire on Instagram always shares great podcast recommendations for kids. So definitely go and check her out. I will link her down below. She has a blog post sharing podcasts that she recommends, especially for this age group, that I think you will find very helpful. So definitely don't forget about audiobooks and podcasts. I hope this information was helpful. I did link all 3 of my favorite decodable books down below so that you can check them out. Again, decodables are so important for your little one to read on their own, and most libraries don't carry them. So you might need to invest in a good set of decodable books so your little one can practice on their own. I also have a video sharing my favorite chapter book recommendations that I will link down below, and I do plan on recording a part 2 of my chapter book recommendations coming up soon so that I can share more options with you, because the more options, the better for you to find something your little one will love and be super interested in. If you have any questions about this or anything else I share, never hesitate to reach out. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Littles Love Learning Blog. You can also head to my website, littleslovelearning.com, for more information. I do have a course all about teaching kids to read, and it allows parents to be able to teach kids to read at home in a step-by-step guided way. I will link that down below if you are interested. Until I see you next time, happy learning. Bye!